Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Today is Monday, December 15th, 2025. And the question is, what is going on in Kupiansk? Kupiansk is an area where Russia was gained a very strong foothold. It even announced the capture of the city Kupiansk. But recently, Ukraine has made advances in this area. Even President Zelensky had his photo taken about 2 kilometers outside the city, and at a point which later was shown to be quite a bit different than the photo that President Zelensky, or the video that was taken there. So many stated that this was either AI generated or had been taken some time earlier and then put out as if it was taken recently. So in any case, the point is that Ukraine needs a victory, especially with all the tough negotiations going on in Germany and with the United States. Ukraine needs people to forget about all the corruption scandals and to focus on what President Zelensky would like them to understand is that if Ukraine just receives enough help long enough, they will retake all the territory that Russia has captured since 2022. So that's the point Zelensky wants to make. Also, Zelensky doesn't want people questioning his legitimacy. So he has bypassed several elections using martial law, and many now think that Ukraine is no longer a democracy. So basically, if it's not a democracy, if it's got corruption going on, then people will begin to drop Ukraine like a hot potato. So what does President Zelensky need to do? He needs a military victory where he can say, the people of Ukraine have retaken this territory, and we have shown the mighty Russian bear that we can, fight back and we can retake territory. So this is what seemingly is going on here in the Kupiansk area. You can see, if I go in a little bit, all this gray area here marked off. This is the military summary map. I'll leave the link below. And you have area below, this red area of Kupiansk, and area above. So basically, this is the area that Russia had apparently controlled, and now Ukraine has retaken. So one has to ask, what is really going on? Why is Russia not fighting for this territory more? Why haven't they brought in more forces? Why haven't they consolidated their defenses? And so we just need to take a look at a map here called the Deep State map. And this is a map that allows one to go back in time and see how things were looking on a particular date, at least in the Ukrainian point of view. Now this is the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd area. North of Mirnograd, you had a Russian salient going forward to Zoloty Kolodyazh, Kucherev Yar, this area. And you can see the purpose of what Russia was doing was to overextend the Ukrainian forces in this area. And because what was the goal of the Russian forces? Was it to maintain this salient? No, it was to enclose the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd area. Pokrovsk is a key hub city. Mirnograd, another key city. It has I believe a coal mine. So anyway, large industrial and transportation hub. And this was the goal of Russia. It wasn't to hold on to this a salient. So as this salient collapsed, then I'll go to today's date. So we'll go to December. This is the last map that they have. So this is the way things look now. So you can see the area that Russia held, and they began to cede territory as they collapsed this Pokrovsk-Mirnograd area. And this map doesn't show a Russian encirclement, but just about every other map does. So basically, Russia encircled this area around Pokrovsk-Mirnograd and began to take that, and then slowly began to recede from the salient point. And so the goal was first to overextend the Ukrainian forces, keep them focusing on retaking areas that Russia really wasn't putting as a goal, and to focus then on taking the area that was their main goal. So it was kind of a deception to have this salient and then have Ukrainian forces so focused on taking this area. Of course, the Ukrainians also tried to advance in Rodinsky, in Grishinyo, but as this urban area collapsed into an encirclement, then Russia began to take control over all the access routes of Grishinyo and Rodinsky. So even the Ukrainians were trying to access Mirnograd through Shakove, which is here where that red arrow is. So when Ukraine started to realize that Pokrovsk was lost and was being encircled, at least operationally encircled, then they started to focus. First, the Russians built this salient. Then the Ukrainians attacked it while the Russians advanced towards Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, and encircled it. And then at the very end, the Ukrainians switched to try to unblock this encirclement and were unsuccessful. So what did they do? Then they switched over to this Kupiansk area, looking for quick victory and to try to retake Kupiansk. So anyway, but what is Russia doing here that shows its true intention? Well, you can see that there's a salient here, and this is closing off this pocket. So this pocket, which is defined by a river, I think it's the Oskol River, this is Russia's true intended goal. These other areas are of less importance as Russia fills in this this pocket. So that is the goal of the Russian forces in this area. Now, will they be able to achieve that? Will they reinsert more forces to stabilize the Kupiansk area and to use artillery and bombs to push the Ukrainians back? Well, we'll see how that goes, but I think that there is a similarity between the Kupiansk area and the kind of salients that were forming there compared to what the true Russian goal is, which seems to be closing off this pocket and taking it completely. And once they have taken it, then they will begin to advance again. And I think that the Russians were not going to advance anymore until they had secured this area. So, and we see something similar happening here in the Borova area. The Ukrainians are attacking north of Borova, and the Russians are starting to encircle them. So we're seeing several areas where Ukrainians seem to get themselves into a position where they get themselves encircled, and eventually their troops either surrender, are killed, or make some attempt to escape and are eliminated in the process. So anyway, I think for me this is what's happening in Kupiansk. Many are focusing on the Ukrainian victory. What I'm focusing on is that Russia's closing out this pocket, and that is the true goal of the Russian forces. And once they close that off, then they will be able to move further west, and then we will once again see a strong push west towards Kharkiv. So anyway, that is my brief report on this Kupiansk area. If you like this video, please hit the like button. I'll leave links to the maps below in the description. And if you would please kindly share and subscribe, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.